Have you ever wondered where the idea of a restaurant even came from? I mean, who was the first person to say, "Hey, let's open a place where people can come, sit down, and order a meal from a list of options"? It seems so obvious to us now, but the concept is actually younger than you might think. Let us take a journey back in time to uncover the fascinating history of the world's very first restaurant. To start, let us be clear. People have been buying and eating prepared food outside their homes for thousands of years. Think about ancient civilizations. In ancient Rome, for instance, you'd find places called thermopolia. These were essentially ancient fast food counters. They were small shops, often opening directly onto the street, where you could buy hot food and drinks. Archaeologists have found them all over the Roman Empire, especially in places like Pompeii. They typically served simple, hearty fare like stews, bread, and wine. But here's the catch. Thermopolia were mainly for the lower classes. Many ordinary Romans lived in apartments that didn't have kitchens, so eating out wasn't a luxury. It was a necessity. Wealthy Romans, on the other hand, had elaborate kitchens and private chefs. They would rarely, if ever, eat at a public thermopolio. So, while these were places to eat out, they weren't restaurants in the modern sense. They lacked the key elements we associate with dining today: a comfortable atmosphere, individual tables, and a variety of choices. Similarly, throughout the Middle Ages and into the Renaissance, you had inns and taverns. These establishments primarily served travelers. If you were on a long journey, you could stop at an inn for a place to sleep and a hot meal. But the food options were extremely limited. You ate what the innkeeper was serving that day, often at a communal table with all the other guests. It was about sustenance, not experience. There was no menu, no individual service, and certainly no sense of a special occasion. It was purely functional. So, where did the switch happen? When did eating out transform from a necessity for the poor and travelers into a refined experience for everyone? For that, we need to travel to 18th century Paris, the epicenter of culture, art, and gastronomy. The year is 1765. The city is bustling, but the way people eat is still largely dictated by the old guild system. Butchers could only sell meat, bakers could only sell bread, and so on. This system was very restrictive. If an innkeeper wanted to serve a meat stew, they had to be careful not to infringe on the butcher's guild rights. It was a complicated web of regulations that stifled culinary innovation. Enter a man named Mathurin Rosa de Chantasso, though he is often referred to simply as Monsieur Boulanger. He was a visionary who saw an opportunity to do something different. Boulanger opened a shop in Paris near the Louvre. His specialty was restaurants. Now, at the time, the word restaurant didn't mean a place to eat. It was a French term for a rich, flavorful broth or soup, often made with meat and vegetables, that was believed to be a restorative. It was considered a health food, something that would restore your strength and energy. Boulanger decided to sell these restorative broths, but he did something revolutionary. Instead of a loud, communal dining hall, he created a quiet, elegant space. He set up individual tables with clean tablecloths. And most importantly, he offered a list of his different soups for customers to choose from. This was a primitive menu. It might seem simple, but it was a radical departure from the take it or leave it approach of inns and taverns. His sign reportedly read, in Latin, "Venite ad me omnes cui stomacho labortis, et ego vos restauravo," which translates to "Come to me, all who labor in the stomach, and I will restore you." This new concept was a direct challenge to the old guild system. The Caterers Guild, the traders, took him to court, arguing that by selling his meat-based broths, he was infringing on their exclusive right to sell prepared meat dishes. But Boulanger was clever. He famously argued that his signature dish, sheep's feet in a white sauce, wasn't a stew, and therefore didn't violate the guild's rules. He won the case. This legal victory was a crucial turning point. It effectively broke the stranglehold of the guilds and opened the door for other entrepreneurs to follow in his footsteps. What made Boulanger's establishment the first true restaurant was the combination of three key elements. First, individual seating. For the first time, patrons could dine privately or with their chosen companions, rather than being forced to sit with strangers at a communal table. This elevated the act of eating into a more personal and refined experience. Second, a menu. The power of choice was a game changer. Customers could peruse a list of options and select what they wanted to eat. This shifted the focus from the provider to the customer. And third, a focus on service and atmosphere. Boulanger's shop was designed for comfort and elegance, making dining out an enjoyable activity in its own right, not just a means to an end. The French Revolution in 1789 provided an unexpected catalyst for the restaurant boom. Before the Revolution, many of France's best chefs were employed in the private kitchens of the aristocracy. But when the Revolution began, their aristocratic employers either fled the country or, well, lost their heads. Suddenly, all these highly skilled chefs were out of a job. What did they do? Many of them opened their own restaurants in Paris. They brought their incredible culinary skills, their high standards of service, and their sophisticated recipes to the public. This created a culinary explosion in Paris. Restaurants started popping up all over the city, each trying to outdo the others with more elaborate dishes and more luxurious settings. The restaurant became a social institution. It was a place to see and be seen, to conduct business, to celebrate, and to simply enjoy the pleasures of the table. Great chefs like Antoine Carême became the first celebrity chefs famous for their elaborate creations. Dining guides, like the Almanach des Gourmands, were published, reviewing and ranking the city's best establishments. The culture of gastronomy was born. From Paris, the concept of the restaurant spread like wildfire across Europe and then to the rest of the world. In the 19th century, restaurants became a staple of city life in London, Vienna, New York, and beyond. Each culture added its own flavor to the concept. The rise of the middle class, increased urbanization, and improvements in travel all contributed to the growing popularity of dining out. Restaurants diversified, catering to every taste and budget, from humble diners and bistros to the grand, opulent temples of haute cuisine. And that brings us to today. Think about the sheer variety of restaurants we have now. You can get a quick slice of pizza, a comforting bowl of pho from a family-run spot, a burger from a global chain, or an exquisite multi-course tasting menu at a Michelin-starred restaurant. The legacy of that one small Parisian soup shop from 1765 is all around us. It fundamentally changed not just how we eat, but how we socialize, celebrate, and experience culture. The restaurant is more than just a place to get food. It's a stage for life's moments, big and small. So the next time you sit down at a restaurant, whether it's your favorite local spot or a fancy place for a special occasion, take a moment to appreciate the history behind it. You're participating in a tradition that's over 250 years old, a tradition that began with one innovative Parisian who believed a good bowl of soup could restore the body and soul. From his simple restoratives to the global culinary landscape of today, it's been a truly delicious journey. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this slice of history as fascinating as I did, please hit that like button, share it with your foodie friends, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the stories behind our everyday lives. See you in the next video.